I want to talk to you about lots of things, really. I think, so much has been said already that I would have said, so that's fantastic. Vaishnavi and Satbir really nailed it on the whole kind of medical side and just getting into the research and making you understand how profoundly important yoga is for us, for our children, and how profoundly important it is right now in public health in the UK. I think that's fantastic. We've got that grounding. So I thought maybe we'll look forwards a little bit and think about the impact of yoga to our future, our children's future. And I just want to tell you a few stories, really, because I think that's what I can do. I'm not great at research. I don't do research, but I can tell you stories. I can tell you about my experience and the children that I work with. So in term time, usually I work with, say, 10 classes a week, so that's about 100 kids a week. And I've been doing that for about 10 years. So I've got quite a nice body of understanding of what happens in the classroom. When I first stepped into a classroom, I had a call from my friend Sarah who said, so you've been teaching yoga, you've been teaching languages to kids for at least 15 years, you've been teaching yoga for many years, you're the only person I know around here who could possibly go into a year 10 class of disengaged boys and teach them yoga. I'm off to Australia, they're yours for 8 weeks. I said, fine, look, I can do this. Walked in with my mats, started, within 5 minutes, it was a disaster, complete failure. Basically, the boys were hitting each other over the heads with the yoga mats, and my whole precious world of yoga fell before my eyes. And that's how all this started. I thought, I've got to write all this down. I've got to find ways through, way to communicate. What am I doing wrong? I was a good teacher. I was a good language teacher. Yeah, I really was. Believe me, I could do it. Yeah, but I get into a room full of yogis, or not yogis, and I'm thinking, I can't communicate with them. It was a disaster. I was only lucky that the head didn't pass at that time and I could actually keep experimenting and finding a way through. And that's when I realized that we need to meet people where they are. And that's when I realized that many of us suffer from preconceptions, very much what is Vishwam. Where are you, Vishwam? I need to see you. Where are you? And that whole idea that we have preconceptions. I had preconceptions about what yoga was. I had preconceptions about these kids. They were already, in my mind, disengaged. They were boys. They were 14. They were in a rough school, in a rough area. I had ideas. I had preconceptions. I needed to go in, control behavior. I needed to have disciplinary ideas of how to resolve this situation. I had ideas. And all these ideas were my obstacles. This is how I do this. How do I do that? Yeah, obstacles. My wrong perception. And I think the more I do yoga, the more I realize that as educators, it's not about filling the vessel. It's about kindling the fire. It's about inspiring. How do we go in and inspire people to be the best they can be? How do we go in and inspire people to be true to themselves, to take care of themselves? This is something that Socrates said for a very long time ago, and it feels very relevant to me right now, this whole idea of kindling a fire. So let's just take a moment. Would be great if we could just come together in the Om for a second, just because, just feel that sense of connection. So if you just sit quietly, take your back straight, hands on your knees. Take a deep breath in. These guys had preconceptions about what yoga was. What do you think their preconceptions were? What were your preconceptions before you sat on a yoga mat? Weirdos? Anything else? Mummies, yeah, yummy mummies. Yogurt knitting. Female, middle class, middle-aged. Cultish, maybe? I certainly thought it was cultish when I started hearing the mantra for the first time. Anything else? Gymnastics? Anything else? Difficult. I can't do that. I'm not flexible. It's not for me. I'm not bendy. Brainwashed. They're brainwashing me. They're emptying my mind. What's going to come in? Yeah, yeah. And now, that wasn't around when I started, sexy. That it's something to do with sex. Yeah? Don't Google teen yoga. You'll be shocked. And it's a real, so there's this whole kind of set of preconceptions before you've even walked through the door that you're battling with. And you have 14-year-old boys. I'd like to add that after about 5 weeks, we were having a ball. We were having a fantastic time, but it looked nothing like any yoga class I had ever been to. But we were doing yoga. We really were. But I'd like to just make you aware of our own preconceptions and what a challenge they are, what a prison they are, in fact, for ourselves and for others. There was one boy I remember particularly called Charlie. He was he had Asperger's, and he used to come very early, very neat, he'd just put all the mats out very neatly in the room, and a gang of about 3 boys came in shortly after, and immediately they start fighting. There's this just kind of alpha male thing, it's jostling. And it was really sad for me to see, because Charlie was clearly really distressed by this, and my own son is also on the Asperger's syndrome, so I could really recognize this. And this just carried on, and Charlie would stay afterwards, and we'd chat, and he'd say, well, we wouldn't talk directly about that. We'd talk about stress and managing stress, and I'd give him a few things he could do. And in about week 3, week 4, the jostling stopped. They just kind of, hey, hey, and they got on their mats, and they got going with the yoga. And I said, what happened? He said, something happened. I just saw them in a different light. And I talked to the 3 guys, what happened there? You guys were a bit... He said, well, I just see him, he's all right. Charlie's all right, he's just different from us. And those are kind of preconceptions that were dropped. And this is not the first time I've come across this. In fact, Amy, where's Amy Morgan? Amy did a beautiful research for me with Leeds University, interviewing some of my kids in year 7 and 8 about their impact, the impact of yoga on them. And that's one of the very key issues that kept coming up, wasn't it? That their attitude towards each other shifted from hostility to acceptance. So one of the main attitudes I notice in schools is a brutalization. I feel that we brutalize our boys and we sexualize our girls. As adults, as media, as society, as soon as the voice is broken, we see a threat. As soon as the girl starts to have breasts, we think they're available. And it's nothing, their body is just changing without them wanting to do it, wanting this to happen. It's just changing, but inside they're the same. I remember every day my son used to go to school on public bus, and sometimes he'd forget his money. Sometimes he'd forget his money, and the driver would just let him on because they knew him. It's fine, pay tomorrow, mum will pay tomorrow. And we went away for the summer, came back, his voice had broken. He forgot his money one day, he was thrown off the bus. It never happened before. Because now the bus driver saw him as a threat, because his voice had broken. I don't know if any of you women remember the first time you were whistled at. I remember cycling. I cycled to school every day, cycled to school. One day suddenly I was whistled at. I was like, what does that mean? What's that? That's just me cycling on my bike. And then I realized, oh, I'm being sexualized. I'm being observed differently. And what happens when you become observed differently? Something happens in you. You reciprocate. You become that person. Because that's how you're observed. It's very hard to resist that. Very hard to resist that. So I think the question then is, of course, what happens if we start to observe with compassion, with acceptance, non-judgmentally? And also, if we offer kids a methodology to touch something deeper within themselves, other than the identity that they've been given, what happens? And this, to me, Satbir touched on this beautifully, is the actual true meaning of yoga. There's a lovely man, I don't know if you've come across him, that beautiful, beautiful forum that is Facebook, called Satguru, who I think I've posted on my page, some of you have seen him, who calls yoga a technology. Yoga is a technology, he says. if you do this, this will happen. If you put the Google Map app on your phone, that technology, you will find your way. Yeah? If you do the alternate nostril breathing, you will calm down. Heather knows all about this. She teaches it in her course. And the other definition, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga stills the waves of the mind. Vishwan went right deep into that, gave you an experience of what that means. Let's go downstairs. Let's step down. Yeah. And Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda. Truth, knowledge, bliss. Truth, knowledge, bliss. Swami Vishnu. Health is wealth. Peace of mind is happiness. Yoga shows the way. Health is wealth. Who are we with $1 million in the bank if we're on a life support machine? Peace of mind is happiness. Who are we at a party if we feel completely separated and alone? Peace of mind is happiness. And yoga shows the way to that. I think that was a very profound, when I first heard that in my yoga center in Putney, that really gave me something to think about, and it's lived with me ever since. It's like that thing, you know, when the yogi goes in to get a pizza. He said, what do you want? It's a vegetarian pizza house. Make me one with everything. And so it's that thing that's yoga's more than just stretching our body. It has a spiritual aspect. We can't deny it. We can't deny it. We can't deny it. We've talked about this problem we have with religion, the idea of, is it a religion? How do we get around that? I've had it myself. I've been thrown out of church halls twice for using incense. Yeah. I was asked, do you use mantra? I lied. I said, no, I don't use mantra. But I think it's interesting to think about Jung's quote when he says, people have ideas of what they want. They attain exactly what they want, whether it's marriage, reputation, money, status, and they remain neurotic. The only reason they remain neurotic is because their spiritual horizon is too narrow. Their spiritual horizon is too narrow. It's not responding to a need. So I worried about this. I thought about this, and I thought, should I share this in this group? But I can feel a tremendous amount of compassion, a tremendous amount of unity in the room. So I thought I will share this story because it might be helpful to you. I was brought in one week to give classes to a primary school in Midsummer Norton, a town very close to where Rianne and I live, and many others here. And they said it was post-SATs. Again, why after SATs? Why not before SATs? As a kind of fun health week kind of thing. And I was given reception year 1, so that's 4 to 5 year olds, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5 to 6, every day to do a bit of yoga. On the last day, it was a tiny school, probably about the size of this room and that room put together, and with an atrium in the middle, classrooms all around the edge. Year 1 was having a music lesson, imagine, 5-year-olds having a music lesson. Year 2 and 3 were having art, we're doing art, painting and stuff, noisy, and there were stories in another classroom, and I had year 5 and 6 in the middle. And we did a little yoga session, then we did a nice, long shavasana. I walked around the edges to try and just keep them focused on what was going on. And it went completely quiet. I felt, my goodness, all this noise around them, they're just so relaxed. It was extraordinary. Every time I do Shavasana or Yoga Nidra with this age group, I find it absolutely extraordinary. And then eventually they all got up and there was time to go back to their classroom, and one girl said, I loved that bit where we all left our bodies. Yeah. And that was in the middle of an atrium, in the middle of this happens. Because yoga is an experience. It's not a belief, it's an experience. And if we do it right, we have the experience of being something other than a body. We actually feel it. I'm something more than this and this. There's something else. So we're really getting into the meta vision of yoga. Meta, loving kindness, but meta, overarching view. What are you doing? What are we doing as yoga teachers? it strikes me that we're offering a nourishing place. We're offering a nurturing space. And we're introducing kids to radical self-care. What is it to radically care for yourself? What's demanded of me as a yogi is at least 4 hours of my time per day towards meditation, pranayama, asana. That's radical self-care. I'm just doing that for me. That's a lot. And I really battled with that whole thing in the beginning of, isn't that selfish to spend, as a mother, to spend 4? And I realized, oh no, because when I do it, I'm a much nicer mother. I'm a much better friend. I'm much more focused at the computer. I do 2 hours work in half an hour. So actually, no, radical self-care is a fantastic offering. It's not another thing to learn. It's about... yoga isn't something you just teach people. It's something you do. It's something you experience. It's something you are. In yoga, we talk about the 3 gurus. The first guru, the mother. The second guru, the father. The second guru, the third guru, is us, the teacher. We are the guru. We're the last guru before the guru inside, in the heart. And as a guru, what are you embodying? What are you embodying? Do you hear the story about the mum who took a child to the guru and said, Guru, teach my child not to eat sweets. Just tell him, don't eat sweets. Have you heard this one? Yeah? And the guru says, no, I can't. Come back in 2 weeks' time. What? She comes back in 2 weeks' time. Guru, tell me, he's just eating sweets every day. Tell him, don't eat sweets. So why couldn't you tell him 2 weeks ago? Because I was eating sweets. Yeah? So what are you embodying? What are we embodying as teachers? How do we live our lives? Because teachers are leaders. That's what we are. We're leaders. If we're in school 8 hours a day with kids, how many kids are going through your classroom in a week? Hundreds. And you're having a deep influence on them. Who here can't remember a teacher who's deeply influential on them? Whether it's a yoga teacher or a language teacher. I can remember 3 just off the top of my hat right now that deeply influenced me. The first one was my French teacher who made me want to become a French teacher. And the second one was my yoga teacher who made me want to become a yoga teacher. So teachers are incredibly influential. And what you do with your life, what we do with our lives, and how we protect ourselves and care for ourselves, and what we're modeling as teachers is what we're sharing. And through that, obviously, we are shaping a future. So effectively, how we live our lives shapes the future of our students. My other son, Adam, came back from school one day about 6 months ago and said, Mrs. Moody meditates. I said, well, how do you know Mrs. Moody meditates? I don't know. She's the only one who doesn't shout at us. And she's kind of quiet, you know, she gives us quiet time when we're doing the biology. Okay, fine. Last month, he did his first TM course, his Transcendental Meditation, and he's been meditating every day ever since. And that's because of Mrs. Moody, it's not because of me. Because he saw the shift in her as a teacher. He saw that she became a better person. And I've got hundreds of examples of that. But I'm not going to go through them. So it's about you feeling your care, the care that you give yourself is modeling it to the children that you teach. Because this time is the creation of the persona. This time is the creation of an identity. Before this time, we respond to situations. We're angry in the supermarket, we throw ourselves down, we scream. Yeah? We want to have a we ourselves. We don't care. But suddenly we think, oh no, I'm a Marxist. I'm a Leninist. Actually, no, I'm an existentialist. I'm this, I'm that. We become ists and isms. We embody, we look at people, we think, I'm going to be a little bit like her, the way she sits, the way she dresses, or a little bit by him, like the books he reads, the way he sits in a chair. This is the time of persona creation. We're creating our identity. So we need to educate the hearts as well as the minds. Aristotle, and drop our preconceptions. And think about the meaning of not only identifying with our bodies, but identifying with something greater. A bigger, wider context, a communion, a community that we can actually experience. How does it feel when you sit in a room with 20 people and you're breathing exactly the same? Inhale, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3. How does it feel when you're moving in unison with 20 other people? How does it feel when you know that your heartbeat is actually beating at the same rhythm as everybody else around you? You know that there's something other than that. And when a life full of Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and all the other forums that you and I have no idea what they're even called, right? Suddenly we're introducing to a space where that flood has stopped. That flood doesn't exist anymore. And it's a release to know that I'm not the identity that's flowing in through my phone. But I can experience another identity that I can relate to, that I can be in my life. So just in conclusion then, it's about connection. It's about connecting on a deep level with our kids through our hearts and moving away from our wrong perception towards an experience of communion. Teachers, our self-practice is the key. Our self-practice, how we treat ourselves, is the only thing they see. Blah, 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 blah. She looks exhausted. Blah, 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 blah. Look, she looks so good. She's relaxed. She's really cool. She doesn't shout. He didn't come home and tell me what Mrs. Moody had actually taught him that day. Nothing about the words that had been said, but about her behavior, about how she had treated her kids. So what we're doing as teachers is we are modeling our own future and their future. That's it, I'm done. Thank you very much. Namaste.